let's say a prayer right now, guys. Stop what you're doing. Close your eyes. Just say a little prayer for everybody's bicep. They're 10 events in at this point, and they're having to do a mixed grip high pull with like 450 pounds. And especially, you look at all the pharmaceuticals that are flowing through their bloodstream. It's a recipe for detaching a tendon. Brick by Brick Bromley tee, along with Bromley merch, is available at barbellapparel.com. Hit that link below. It's a great time to be alive, guys. World's Strongest Man is starting here in just a few days. And gone are the days where the event goes on and then you have to wait for like 8 months for it to air during Christmas, where you can't watch it anyways because your entire family thinks you're a weirdo when you take over the one TV in the living room so you can watch Mariusz Pudzianowski's giant tits bounce. That was a hard one to explain to my grandfather. So there's 3 things I want to talk about. I want to talk about the event selection. I want to talk about the talent pool. And I want to talk about what the next year is going to look like for Mitch Hooper, who is on just his death run, just leaving nothing but broken hearts in his wake, along with all of the other competitors whose physical size is almost as big as their personality. So the first thing we got to talk about are the events. World's Strongest Man had its own awkward teen coming of age in the early 2000s. Back in the day, it did whatever the fuck. It would do sumo wrestling and steel bending, and you would squat people, and you would shovel gravel into a truck, and you would run bricks around a track. Eventually, in the early 2000s, the glorious Metrex days, you started to see more standardization as to what the sport was trying to be. Crowd favorites were being selected and done yearly. They were events that people would look forward to, and people actually had an idea of what they were going to train for, and it started to congeal as an actual viable sport. The problem is in the early 2000s, everything was just too fucking light. Of course, you had to be strong, but that was secondary to being really, really, really fast. And it turns out you don't need to deadlift 1,000 pounds in order to sprint with 260-pound farmer walk handle. That was back in the good old days where the heaviest stone in the medley was like 375. Now we know it was light even according to the talent pool of the day, because we've had the Arnold Classic for 20 plus years to compare it to, and there was always a huge disparity in what the athletes were capable of, and that actually created an arms race that forced World's Strongest Man to start implementing heavier and heavier implements. Now the Arnold is still confined to a tiny ass stage, so the weights are always going to be weighted so that people can only go 15 feet with it. So it's always going to be heavier, but this is actually a very well-rounded event. You have a mix of max effort, of reps, you have a mix of long grinded endurance events, foot speed events, awkward events, power events. So hats off. This is actually like a true decathlon of strongman. So going down the list of the qualifiers, you got the Webster stones, or they got nickel stones or Denny stones. Like, anybody's supposed to remember the names of these fucking stones? They're awkward offset stones that you grab with a handle, and it's really a test of, do you know how to hook grip and how much pain can you take? This is one of those, it doesn't matter how fucking strong I am, this is going to suck because there's no efficient way to do it type of event. And I think there should always be one in a big show like this. So I am happy to see this. However, this also turns into parlor trick fuckery, because it turns out, like so many of these types of events, the most efficient way to do it is the one that's counterintuitive and kind of works against the spirit of it. So I'm hoping that somebody takes a note from James Diefenbaugh and spinneroonies their way through this, because with some of the fuckery that's been going on in strongman, like the ruck medley at OSG, I'm getting to be a real accelerationist about this. Just feed into the stupid shit so the sport is forced to reset itself with some more firm definitions. But I've done this. It's painful. It's slow. You can't pick up speed. And really, once you feel what it's like to try to go fast with this and lose your soul in the process, you're going to be looking at the spitting technique thinking, am I really above that? Probably not. You got the deadlift ladder. It's up to 835. It's light, but it's a good way to weed out the poor deadlifters without blowing everybody out, because there's a really fucking heavy deadlift in the finals. I do wish more max effort events were in the qualifiers when guys were fresh, less likely to get injured, and you get everybody contributing, more likely to see a record, rather than having them do the maxes later on when they're blown and when you've weeded out a lot of the guys who might actually be really strong. Anyways, it's strategically, I think it's a good way to weed out the deadlifters, but I think it'd be a better show. You got the steeplechase sandbag, which is whatever. It's a fast sandbag medley. So technique, endurance, foot speed. The Viking press is a staple. Car walk is a car walk. And then you have the stone off, everybody's least favorite fucking event, my least favorite event, because it doesn't make any damn sense. And it shows that this is a television production more so than it is a sport. Basically, You stop after 5 events, take the winner, that guy goes into the finals. Second and third, for some reason, go into a tiebreaker, regardless of whether or not it's a tie, and then everybody else is out of the show. So you have a special event literally just for second or third place. Little bizarre. I think it would be better to have everybody in there so all the points count. You get some weird fuckery with points when you start adding in or removing people, and it's one of the fatal flaws of the strongman scoring system. But at least it's consistent. When you're leaning into it by having special events for some people, it makes it worse because you get points based on how you do relative to everybody else. Perfect example, at OSG every year, they try to carry over the athletes' placings into the finals, and they're always at a loss of how to do it because when you remove everybody else from the point spread, they have to find ways to like collapse the points down. But you might have been very close to somebody else all along, and then a bunch of people that didn't make it in the finals separated you on one event. You might find that when you take those people out, you actually flip placings. You get some weird stuff. This would absolutely be a different result than if you just had everybody do stones. So it's bizarre. It's fun to watch. It's dramatic. That's what they care about. But the point scoring doesn't make sense, and it really, I think, hurts the credibility of who you're getting into the finals, which World has got to concern itself with that as this becomes less of just the fun thing that people watch on Christmas and more of something that an active fan base is engaged in. But going into the finals, you got some cool shit. You got the frame to yoke medley. It's not this 3 reps on a log to go do a kickflip on a skateboard and then a sandbag to shoulder and go punt a football. Shit like that reeks of like amateur promoters. I personally don't like. It's a big pet peeve of mine. The sport exists to add up the disciplines and see who the most well-rounded is. When you start doing well-rounded shit as individual events, it's obnoxious, it's convoluted, it's not fun for me to watch. Frame to yoke, solid. 2 different carries, going to be lightning fast, good solid race. We know what we're looking for here. Max axle, I'm interested for that and the deadlift because they're both heavy as shit. Let's say a prayer right now, guys. Stop what you're doing, close your eyes. Just say a little prayer for everybody's bicep because not only does max axle clean and press, which I hate because it's an unnecessary bicep risk, just do a goddamn barbell. The difficult part of an axle is that your hands are open. That forces all of these guys who are in the throes of contest training over a bunch of events, wear and tear. They're 10 events in at this point, and they're having to do a mixed grip high pull with like 450 pounds. And especially, you look at all the pharmaceuticals that are flowing through their bloodstream. It's a recipe for detaching a tendon. And that's one of the reasons why they took that shit out of the Arnold for a really long time. Too many guys, they were losing to it. So say a prayer for your favorite strongman. I think Mitch is going to do well. I don't think he's a candidate. However, even if you're good with something, the fact that you're chasing that event, that opens you up to overreaching. And when everything builds up together, it opens you up to an injury. It's an event that just begs for it. So I'm going to be watching it like a drunk redneck watches NASCAR. It's like the numbers are going to be cool, but you're secretly hoping for a complete fucking train wreck pileup. Not really, though. I hope we see a big number and that everybody makes it out in one piece. The deadlift is like 360-ish kilos, a little under 800 pounds. I remember 815 from Glenn Ross won a max effort deadlift like some 20 years ago. And now you got guys that are going to hit double digits. That's absolutely insane. Especially this is what, event number 9 or 10. That's insane. Cake toss and Conan's wheel, a little bit of an X factor there. Can't make any mistakes. I'm looking forward to all the thumbnails we're going to see from the 400-pound monsters fatigued a week into a 11 event show, just turning purple and blacking out because they had 700 pounds just sitting on their guts and they couldn't get any oxygen. That's always a good time. So it's a very well-rounded show. I don't have a lot of complaints. We got a little bit of everything here, and I think that's really cool. Now, what I want to point out from the competition, and I'm a little proud of this, is America against everyone. We know that this is probably the Mitch Hooper, Tom Stoltman show, and I'm going to save you the suspense. I think Mitch is going to walk away with this. Tom isn't obviously better at Mitch in really anything except stones. Mitch is just super well-rounded. He's going to take it on the overhead press. He looks like he's going to take it on the deadlift. I don't know that Tom is really faster consistently on Mitch than anything. There's room for some slip-ups, but honestly, I think this is Mitch's show this year, especially without Martins, without Thor, without Kielszkowski, without anybody that could challenge him on single events, let alone all the events. However, we got out of 30 athletes, 11 fucking Americans. 11. I'm going to read them off to you. We got the people that have been here before. Evan Singleton, Trey Mitchell, Rob Kearney, Bobby Thompson, Kevin Fairs. These are all vets of World's Strongest Man and some of the highest contests around. Then you got some guys that are new, but that are monstrous. Thomas Evans has been to the Arnold. You got Spencer Remick and Marcus Crowder. Both of them have been very consistent top-level American pros for a while that everybody was waiting to break through, and this is where discussions of politics comes in because they've been been overlooked multiple times. Very happy to see them in. And then the last three, I've actually competed against each one of these guys. You got Nick Camby I competed with at America's Strongest Man in the 105s. He's a guy who has grinded slowly. Every year he got a little better, placed a little higher at ASM. Finally got his run where he was dominant for a couple years, moved up, and within a year, took mid-pack 6 out of 12 at Europe's Strongest Man, beating World's Strongest Man dudes. I mean, he was taking points at events nobody thought he would, doing well in the deadlift. He's a fantastic yoke walker. He's very well-rounded. He's someone to look out for, and I'm happy to see how he carries his athleticism and a diverse toolkit into this heavier physique that he is in the process of accumulating. Austin Andrade from Heavy Metal. Everybody in San Antonio, Texas knows Tim and Michelle that run Heavy Metal. They're a staple, great gym. And then you got somebody I know very well. This is Nathan Goltry. I was actually at Nathan's first contest in Upland, California, probably some 5 years ago. He was a D1 level football player, and he had all the signs like just moving with weights that he was unfamiliar with in a way that didn't make sense. And the thing about Nathan, he's very funny, very charismatic, everybody loves Nathan. The thing is, this dude has a nasty competitive streak that you don't know until you spend some time around him. He does not like to lose. And the way he talks about doing well, he says it matter-of-factly. From the beginning, I remember he said, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to get my numbers here. I'm going to eat what I have to eat, do what I have to do, and then I'm going to go to World's Strongest Man. And at every single turn, it was, this is what I got to do. This is what I'm doing. He's extremely disciplined with his food, extremely disciplined with his training. I remember the training volume. He was telling me what his training consists of, the amount of work he was doing to level up. He has always been focused on going to the top. I'm happy to see him break in. And I think Nathan, he's cutting his teeth here. You're going to see Nathan over and over because everybody here is a hard worker, but there's a unique level of crazy. Remember the video I did where I talked about the 9 different levels of crazy? Nathan's hanging around a level 8, 9 as like a default mode. So I'm excited to see what Nathan does. Now you got the other guys. You got Stoltman, Heinle, Bilton, Matt Ragg, Adam Bishop, Paul Dwyer. By the way, if you haven't been on Paul Dwyer's Instagram, please go do that. It's fucking a great time.
Jessica Hapwood. This is not healthy and fit. This posture is not necessary. Don't do it. God damn it, I'd hate it here. Hey, Jesse. Those are some neat eyebrows. Be a shame if someone blew them off. Achoo! Oh, I'm sorry. I sneezed your eyebrows off.
I wish more people in strongman had this kind of like WWE affectation. If the average set point for strongman was Eric Bugenhagen, we would have so much more exposure. You grow the sport by getting more people like Paul Dwyer, not by having Eddie Hall and Brian Shaw promote eating disorders by doing videos about 50,000 calorie challenges. You don't get it by having more nationals or worlds where you cram 500 athletes over 1 billion weight classes into an expo hall for a weekend. The last thing I want to comment is what I think the future is going to hold. I think Mitch is going to run away with this all day. I've said repeatedly, he is a freak talent. It's not just how well-rounded he is and how strong he is across the board. It's how fast he got there, how young he is, how radical his transformation is. A lot of these guys in this field grinded over many years to just get to the point where they're competitive. Mitch got here super fast. So like every stellar talent that people think are going to be the second coming, the next big thing, the question is, can he sustain it? He obviously has room to grow. His frame can hold more mass. He can lift more weight. The question is it sustainable? Is he going to burn himself out? A lot of people get super excited when they have the spotlight on him, and then they start falling apart. I don't see that so far. Mitch looks like he's incredibly disciplined. He looks like he's staying on top of everything he needs to. It's just a matter of stay in the course. Now, it's going to be Mitch versus Stoltman. Mitch even said as much, and it makes sense. Nobody else is as strong, as well-rounded, as established as they are. And unless Stoltman brings some freak package that nobody anticipated, or unless there's some accident nobody could have anticipated, I don't see Stoltman edging out Mitch in this list of events. Now, the thing is, I think this is going to be the calm before the storm. You have Thor coming back, and he looks very serious. And also, I don't want to give too much credit to my compatriots, but you have this flood of new American talent that is very... If you're wondering why Americans are so heavily represented, a big part of it is because of the pro system that exists here. I mean, American Strongman is a big reason why the sport swelled internationally over the last 15 years. You have Strongman Corporation that grew. It started to form relationships with the Arnold. They had the Arnold Amateur World Championships. That's exactly how Thor got his pro card. And there's a much cleaner pipeline to the top now than ever existed before. The thing is, by the time you get through that pipeline, they've selected guys who have demonstrated that they're well-rounded. You can't have any weaknesses. It's not enough just to be a fantastic deadlifter. You have to be good across the board, or else your lunch money is going to get taken from you. So when you look at Nathan Goltree, at Marcus Crowder, at Spencer Remick, at Nick Camby. You have guys that are the epitome of a well-rounded strongman athlete. And for these guys, it's almost always a matter of, can I keep adding to my frame until I hit the minimum amount of weight that I have to move in order to be competitive? It's really a question, what's my timeline to getting big enough until I can deadlift 1,000 pounds? Some of these guys are capable of doing it. Some of them probably aren't. But we got 11 guys out of fucking 30 represented. That bodes well for the future. I think Thor is definitely the biggest immediate threat to Mitch's crown right now, but I wouldn't be surprised if in the near future we saw somebody else step up to be the Kingslayer, to take the crown from the current reigning champ. And I look forward to see the battle. At the very least, I think everybody's really itching to have some drama, to have some uncertainty, because that's really what makes sport entertaining. But as always, Mitch is on a killer run. I look forward to seeing what he's going to do. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Don't forget to check out the BaseStrengthA.I app. I just finished my first month of 70s Powerlifter on it, and I'm going to do a full write-up about how that went and what it's going to look like in the future. If you want to learn more, hit that link below. Until next time, this is Bromley. I'll see you.